Hi, my name is Emma, and I'm making this video for PMDD project. I will be speaking about my PMDD story, and I'm sorry if I'm like going off in one direction or the other. I was gonna write this out, but then I'm like, this can't be scripted. I have to be myself. I make daily PMDD blogs every day. So anyway, I'm in the throes of PMDD hell, so my attention span is about as good as a goldfish right now. But let me start out that I did not have the greatest childhood, which I'm really not going to get on about that. But I had depression at the age of 9. I was a very highly emotional child, and during my childhood years and adolescence into my early 20s, I kept a lot of stuff bottled up inside. I didn't have anyone I could really trust at that age, and I wasn't really taught that I could actually express any emotions. So at the age of 12, I developed an eating disorder that had on and off in my teens to my 20s, which later developed into an exercise addiction, but I'll talk about that later. At the age of 15, I started having horrible panic attacks, and so anxiety really consumed my life. I got my period at the age of 13. However, I don't remember noticing any linkage between my period and my moods, because I had depression and I had the anxiety, and I just thought it was PTSD. It wasn't until maybe my mid-20s when I started seeing a cognitive behavioral therapist. I mentioned to her that it seemed that my depression and anxiety got worse around my period, and she recommended I make a journal and log it, which I didn't, but I did notice that this voice inside my head, which I've had since a kid, which would always say, "You're a loser, you're a waste of space, you're never gonna amount to anything," it would get worse before my period, and I didn't put that together at first. So I started having suicidal ideations, which I'm not a suicidal person, but this voice would get so strong inside my head, and it would always say to me, "You're better off dead, you're better off dead." In 2007, I met someone, moved in with this person, and found out my partner was very abusive physically, verbally, emotionally. Especially when I started going through my PMDD episodes, the physical abuse intensified. So I felt like I couldn't talk about PMDD with anyone because no one would believe me and no one cared. I didn't know what it really was. I was trying supplements. I wasn't on any medication. I was trying all sorts of different supplements that a nutritionist recommended me to try. When I started getting out of the relationship 3 years later, I started going to the gym, and my old therapist would tell me it would help with my depression and anxiety. And it did help a lot with my PMDD too. And I became so addicted to working out that I got a full-blown exercise addiction. So when I finally got out of the relationship, things started taking a turn for the worst. I guess the trigger of PTSD was getting worse, things in my life weren't going well, and I was trying to use alcohol to cope with these feelings. Now, it was a really bad time in my life. I had depression, and this was only 2 years ago, but I noticed, and by this time I was logging my symptoms and keeping track of when my period was coming, because I would turn into a crazy person. I would lose relationships, friendships. Um, it was just a mess. I was so paranoid all the time, and I just thought it was because of PTSD and what I suffered. And yes, I do believe there's a link between the two of them, personally for me, and I believe it was definitely exacerbated. Now, drinking alcohol during PMDD is like throwing gasoline on a fire. I couldn't shut that voice off inside my head before my period. Again, you're fat, you're ugly, you're a waste of space, you're a loser. You never amount to anything. You've screwed up so much in your lifetime, you're better off dead, no one loves you. I could not get rid of this voice. So I would try to drown it out with alcohol. And there are many times, and I tracked it, that I would end up in the ER or in hospitals because I wanted to kill myself. I want to escape from myself. I never actually attempted suicide, but the suicidal ideations became so bad that I stupidly tried to drown it out with alcohol, which just made it worse. That just got me hospitalized. I can't really tell you how many times I've been hospitalized in my life. It became somewhere I could run to because I was afraid. I was afraid of myself. I was afraid of the voices inside of my head. And I'm not talking about like schizophrenia or some other type of psychiatric disorder. It was the voices, I guess the voices from my past were coming back and they were playing in my head over and over and over and over again. I felt safe in the hospital. And every time I ended up in the hospital or in the ER because I was suicidal, it was a couple of days before my period. Now, the psychiatrists in the hospitals would diagnose me with certain things like mood disorders, or even one said bipolar. I'm like, I'm not bipolar. And I even told them, I said, this has something to do with my period. And they're always like, it's the alcohol, it's the alcohol. Yes, I understand. The alcohol does not help the situation. I mean, I wasn't a daily drinker. I'm not saying that that's, you know, okay or not. But I was suffering from premenstrual disorder, and I had no idea how to handle it. And no one really seemed to like listen to me when I was saying it comes right before my period. So they put me on a cocktail of medications. First, I was put on Celexa. I think I was on that for about a year. Stopped working, didn't do a thing. Then I was put on Zoloft, and I was probably on that for almost a year. I was on like the max dosage, 200 milligrams. Stopped working. So now I'm actually on Lexapro. I'm on like a smaller dosage, and I take benzos for my anxiety. So let's see. In 2000, it was 2013. It was 2000. I would say a year and a half ago. I moved from South Jersey because I just couldn't cope, and I got into a hospital program up in North Jersey, and I started in therapy with a really good therapist and a therapy group program to help like with coping skills and coping mechanisms. So I mean, it does help a lot. I got into more like meditation, learning how to cope with my anxiety better. I guess like crisis management and stuff like that. I mean, I'm not having the suicidal ideations anymore, but I still get very down like 2 weeks before my period. It's like clockwork. Every 14 days, and it just gets worse and worse. Like before my period comes, and when my period comes, it's like Christmas to me. I just want to like shout it from the rooftops because I start feeling so much better. I never received an official diagnosis of PMDD, but the doctor I see now validates that I do have it, and the therapist that I have validate that I do have it too. It's in the DSM, I think it's the 5 now, and actually my therapist actually showed me that it was actually in there. So now, I'm still having issues with the fact that it's really hard for me to work because of my symptoms, and I'm 33 now and just becoming more debilitating, and it just makes me feel like I am a loser sometimes. I mean, like, I want to be a productive member of society, and I don't feel that I am, because, I mean, like, I've gone to a gynecologist and they just put me on, well, they tried to put me on birth control, and I was like, I'm not taking this. Like, from what I've heard, that it just makes you worse. I'm not gonna even chance that with my emotions. That, you know, I become like Linda Blair from The Exorcist. I call the demon that possesses me 2 weeks out of the month, or a week and a half, I would say, Amelia. It's not me. Like, right now, like, honestly, I'm extremely irritable. Like, anything can set me off. Anything. Like, I'm just trying to hide how I feel, because I look like I'm like 8 months pregnant. I feel disgusting. That's part of PMDD. Like, I don't want to leave the house. I want to isolate. I mean, I don't want to be around anyone, and really, pretty much no one wants to be around me. I mean, who wants to really tell people they have PMDD? It's really hard to leave the house because I'm so tired all the time. I'm so tired, and now that my period's coming closer, I'm suffering from these horrible hot flashes. I mean, I'm like dying right now. I have the window open. I'm in New Jersey. I mean, so it's fall, and I have a fan on me because I'm like sweating to death, and I'm sure after that I make this video, I'm going to take a cold shower. Oh, back to where I was. I wasn't going to take the birth control. I started seeing a nutritionist who told me to take out gluten from my diet like a month or so ago, and that's really easy to stick to a healthy diet when I'm not in PMDD, but I go through like awful cravings, and they're hard to manage because you feel so miserable, and it's like, you know, the only thing that you can try to comfort yourself with is food, especially when you're craving like anything. Pizza, I mean, you become like, or I become like a witch until I get what I want, you know? This month, actually, the food cravings haven't been as bad, but I still feel really disgusting, you know? It's just a horrible feeling, it really is. So also, the nutritionist told me to take this organic progesterone cream and this stuff called Vitex. It's like chaseberry, chaseberry, and I'm taking like B6, B12, and probiotics because my IBS or irritable bowel syndrome gets worse during PMDD too. I'm a mess. So none of it's really working yet. I mean, this cycle, I think I've had more physical symptoms of just being like sick or flu-like. Like, I had a therapy appointment today, and my mindfulness group therapy at the same place, and after my therapy session, I just started getting so sick and hot and anxious that I'm like, and nauseous. I'm like, I gotta leave. So it's just horrible. It's like I want to go out and do things and lead a productive life, and you know, I was even telling my therapist today, it's like 2 weeks out of the month, it's like, you know, I'm breaking appointments. I can't do this, I can't do that. Like, I really want to go work. I really desperately want to go back to school and become a therapist. There's so much I want to do, and I feel like I'm so held back by this disorder. It's awful. I wouldn't wish this upon my worst enemy. I really wouldn't. Anyway, I'm going to end this for now. I'll be back. Have a good evening, day, wherever you are. Bye.